Let me. So I'll run the mythological story with a little embellishment, of course. So don't quote me on this. I'm throwing in things that are obviously not true. What's it called? So this particular alligator was born in the 19 must have been 19 I want to say the 1930s or 1920s. It's the 1920s and 1930s. It was grabbed as a young crocodile at around like age 7, 10, around there. And this crocodile was sent all the way over across the ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, all the way to Germany, where it went to the Great Berlin Zoo, where hundreds and like I believe there were like about like I want to say 10,000 animals, but that's just a nice round number that's just coming to my head. So we'll just go with that.
I
Ten
don't think there
thousand
were
roughly.
10,000 animals at the Berlin Zoo
Hey,
unless you're counting with the ants.
you could fit a lot of fucking animals if you have no conscience, which the Nazis didn't have. So obviously they could fit 10,000 animals into anything, even a container box. I mean, they counted the ants too, so they made up a majority of that. They had ant hills and shit because the Nazis were interested in the ant hills, the efficiency. But anyway, Saturn finds himself in this new wonderful home, which is the Berlin Zoo with his 10,000, friends. Apparently Hitler would come down because Hitler was a lover of animals. He was a vegetarian, of course. And his vegetarianism was because of his love of animals. It definitely wasn't because of the fact that he had a crazy doctor who told him things like you shouldn't eat meat and you should inject yourself with Adderall and amphetamines every single day. That's definitely not the reason why he was a vegetarian. He was actually just a very nice person. That's why. No, I can't even fucking joke about that. But yeah, no, he was a vegetarian because his doctor was a fucking kook. But anyway, he did apparently visit the Berlin Zoo quite often, and so now some people would say that Saturn was Hitler's pet, personal pet crocodile. But let's give Saturn a little credit here. Saturn did try to keep his distance from Hitler. He could tell right from the get-go Hitler was going to be one of those guys you didn't want to be associated with. But Hitler was the guy who keeps associating himself with Saturn. That was the issue. And so Hitler keeps coming by, keeps coming by to the Saturn petting zoo, and he's like, give Saturn a little pat on the head. Saturn's like, oh, I don't like you. You got a weird mustache. But, Hitler's just kind of like, just giving him a little tap on the head. And then later on, the war happens. World War II kicks off. And this is when Saturn starts hitting some dire straits because Saturn, unbeknownst to him, would suddenly find himself right around the point of 1945 when the Nazis find themselves on a bit of the losing foot of the war, right after I think it was Operation Bagration, which was the one that destroyed everything. Is that the one? I don't know. I'm just trying to show off how much I know now. What's it called? So yeah. Anyway, Germans are at the door. They're knocking on Hitler's door. And they also decided to bomb. Actually, I can't remember if it was the Russians. I think it might have been actually for the Americans who bombed the shit out of the German zoo because why the fuck not? Fuck the animals because they're all fucking
Fuck
Nazi
the
animals. Obviously, because they dropped like about 14,000 tons of high explosives. That's like 14 1,000-pound bombs. I know that because that's how many bombs I would put on a B-17 in the game IL-2 Sturmkavik, which is a historically accurate game. Everyone knows that. Anyway, out of like the supposed 10,000 animals that were in the Berlin Zoo, only 50 motherfuckers survived. Only 50 motherfucker Nazi fucking zoo animals survived, and they are till this day still being hunted down and being persecuted. But anyway, Saturn happens to be one of the lucky survivors. he managed to escape out of his bombed-out pen and just crawl around and survive somehow, most likely eating his other Nazi animal friends. And, what's it called? Eating his other fucking Nazi animal friends. And, survived long enough until a bunch of British soldiers, which I'm thinking, I don't even know how a bunch of British soldiers found him. Apparently he was living in the sewers. So a bunch of British soldiers, for some reason, were in the sewers. Don't ask me what they're doing in there. They're probably fucking drunk. And then they suddenly, for some reason, were like, oi, what's that? It's a fucking lizard, mate. Yeah, it's a lizard. This British soldiers suddenly turned Australian, and they took the fucking crocodile. It's an alligator. There's a difference. You gotta pay respect to the animal. They took the alligator Saturn out, and then they ran into like a bunch of Russians, and then they traded. I'm pretty sure they bartered Saturn for like a couple of like hats and some nice warm boots, because the British soldiers were just like, what the fuck are we gonna do with it? We don't really want to bring it home. And the Russians were like, wow, if we bring this to Stalin, we will have a medal. And guess what? They brought him to Stalin, and Stalin was like,
He's a fucking crocodile.
well, he said that first, and then someone's like, Mr. Stalin, actually, I'm afraid to have to tell you it's an alligator. And that person was never seen again.
Well, get your alligator up here. I don't want an alligator.
Excuse me, but wearing these glasses prevented me from seeing a cougar. I'm just not gonna explain that to you. But anyway, back to my story. So the guy was never seen again after he corrected Stalin about the alligator mistake. Stalin, of course, knew he made a mistake, because afterwards Stalin always referred to Saturn as the alligator. But it's not about whether Stalin made a mistake. It's just making sure that anyone who witnessed that mistake is never seen again. So that's when Saturn, the little two-timing whore that he is, went from being Hitler's pet elephant to Stalin's pet elephant. What a bastard. But that's not the end of the story. Because eventually, like every good love story that blooms between Stalin and this alligator Saturn, it must end with a death. And it is Stalin who dies first in 1953. After apparently, I can't remember how he died. He just died in his room, I think.
Saturn is a really cool reptile. He's been around for a very long while. Used to get petted by Hitler. He called Saturn his favorite critter. He was happy in a squeaky clean zoo until some tanks came marching on through. 1,000-pound bombs start raining down on his little friends all over town. Bombs, bottles, concrete blocks, tanks, trunks, and kids with rocks. He had a wife and then she died. He even tried to commit suicide. They all tried to kill you, you survived. Had to fight just to be alive. Nothing can stop this cold-blooded reaper. Saturn, my favorite lizard creature. Burling up in flames, he got caught by the Reds. Sent off to Moscow, this lizard's surely dead. But Stalin liked this strange lizard creature. Take him to zoo and make him main feature. Well, Saturn is happy in a zoo. Lots of new friends, still teaching new rules. Forget about that weird little German. You're Russian now, that's for certain. Bombs, bottles, concrete blocks, tanks, trunks, and kids with rocks. You had a wife and then she died. You even tried to commit suicide. They all tried to kill you, you survived. Had to fight just to be alive. Nothing can stop this cold-blooded reaper. Saturn, a favorite lizard creature. 1991, Stalin's long dead. Now the nation following in his tread. Near the lizard zoo, tanks roll on by. The rumble of the tanks makes Saturn cry. Flashbacks to when Berlin was in flame. He's afraid it will happen all again. After all the things he has seen, the first alligator with PTSD. Bombs, bottles, concrete blocks, tanks, drunks, and kids with rocks. He had a wife and then she died. He even tried to commit suicide. They all tried to kill you, but you survived. Had to fight just to be alive. Nothing can stop this cold-blooded reaper. Saturn, my favorite lizard creature.